I'm Dan Drake. This is Visitor Network TV and Channel 99. With us today is Ron Holmes. Ron comes to us from Hyannis, and he is Executive Director of the Cape Cod chapter of the National Alliance for Mental Illness.
Exactly.
And known as NAMI for short.
Exactly.
Welcome, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much,
nice
Dan.
to
Thanks
have
for
you
having
here.
us.
There's an interesting story behind your involvement in this organization. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Absolutely. I'm like many people that come to NAMI as a family member of someone with mental illness. I have a 27-year-old son who has bipolar disorder. And when he was hospitalized for the first and only time just before graduating from college, which is an interesting side note too, stress is such a huge trigger for mental illness, and it was for him as he was wrapping up his final semester, getting ready to graduate, thinking about employment afterwards. The stress was too much for him. He was hospitalized, and this was not news that he had this disorder, but this was the first time he was hospitalized. I looked for a way to get better informed, better educated about his illness, and it took me to NAMI. And NAMI is an educational and referral resource for family members of people with mental illness, as well as programs for people with mental illness themselves. Their signature course, I call it, is family-to-family education.
How does that work?
It's a 12-week course for family members of people with illness, as I said. It touches on all the different illnesses, their medications, a little bit of brain biology, talks about empathy, tries to teach something about empathy for the person with illness, communication skills with that loved one, coping skills, and self-care for the family member, which can be very difficult. This can be very difficult for family members depending on the situation and depending on the severity of the illness, anything from mild to severe. People often think of mental illness in the severe categories, and even at the lower end of the spectrum, where there's mild depression or anxiety disorders, OCD, depression and dementia, things of that nature. These are all illnesses that are on the spectrum, and sometimes it's just a matter of degree. We like saying we're all on that spectrum. Perhaps most of us are at the very lowest end, and we don't have, or what we do have perhaps are just exhibited by quirks or idiosyncrasies sometimes. But as you move on that spectrum, that you get into more serious mental illnesses. You
have been executive director for now about a year and a half.
Well, almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in May.
Have, as I understand it, kind of rejuvenated the organization on the Cape, which covers both the Cape and the islands. Is that correct?
It does. We are an affiliate for, it's a national organization, NAMI is, and we are the affiliate for Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket. And we have been around since 1982. Our organization is. We are a separate 501c3. But we were an all-volunteer organization for almost all of those years, and when I got involved with NAMI Cape and Islands in 2011, and got on the board actually, we were recognizing that we weren't really meeting the need in the community to the extent that we could. So we set about to try to correct that. We got new teachers for the family-to-family course, and we had no presence on Nantucket at the time. And when I started as executive director in May of 2012, that was one of my highest priorities, was to get something
You have done
established.
some work on the vineyard.
We have a presence on the vineyard. We have had the course, the family-to-family course there. We have support groups on the vineyard. For some reason, it just didn't happen on Nantucket. I think,
but it did happen in 2013.
It did happen. I made it a point to offer family-to-family in the winter of 2013. Taught the course myself along with Peggy Burke from the vineyard, and it was very successful. And I really want to give a little bit of a shout out to the people that were in my course, because they have so wonderfully picked up the ball and are representing NAMI on island now. As a matter of fact, two of the people from my course have become well, 6 people from my course took.
How many were in the course? Let's go back a step. How many were in the course?
18 people.
18 went through it all the way.
18 went through it all the way. It's a 12-week course, as I said. It's a bit of a commitment. It meets once a week for 2.5 hours, so it is a bit of a commitment. We had 18 people go all the way through, and some of those people have just they've taken over the support group that we started after the course ended. 6 of those people have taken the family-to-family teacher training, so they are now teachers themselves. And the course that we're offering beginning this month for the family-to-family course, the second one we're offering, is being taught by 2 of those people. And the support group, as I said, is going. We also have another NAMI course called Basics Education. It's for parents of children and adolescents. We just think it's so critical that we try to intervene at a much earlier age than has been historically the case. So that course, it's a 6-week course, and it is for parents, as I said, of children and adolescents, and we just offered our first course. NAMI Cape and Islands rolled out this course in 2013. Our very first course offering was here on Nantucket.
Let's switch a little bit and talk about how people get to you, how they get to NAMI. What makes somebody realize that they're dealing with mental illness in a family member?
Very often it's recognized in behaviors. Certainly, if you want to talk about some of the more severe illnesses, or someone with severe schizophrenia, for example, if they are hearing voices and they're talking to themselves, if they are extremely paranoid, these are behaviors that are very recognizable, and you kind of know. Much as you do with a physical illness. If you have a pain somewhere.
But a lot of it's more subtle than that.
It can be, very much so. It can be, and so it does take a certain mentality on the part of a friend or family member, and also on the part of the person who has or may have the illness, that they have to recognize that maybe there is something that needs to be looked at here. This is the stigma. We have to get past the stigma about mental illness. We have to recognize that it is an illness. It should be treated. If you're showing signs of perhaps having something that should be looked at, then you should have that looked at. There are many medications that are available for various illnesses. It doesn't have to be medications.
But a family member may realize that, may have that discussion with the person who's mentally ill and get rebuffed. Then the family member needs the tools to go ahead and get it done.
Exactly, know how to communicate with that. It is a difficult thing, and very often an illness will manifest itself in an age range of 16 to 25. Perhaps the brain is going through that, it's still maturing at that age. A lot of stress comes into play for young people at that age. If they've gone off to college, for example, and they're dealing with all the issues with college, being away from home, living with strangers, so to speak. So there are a lot of stresses that come into play, and stress is such a huge trigger, as I've said. And so it does take people, family members, friends, because when this does happen at college, we have to get those people who are around that person at college to recognize that something's not right, and be able to say or ask the question, "Are you okay? I'm seeing something about this that this doesn't seem right."
People don't want to do that.
They don't want to do that, and that's what we have to get past. We have to get people to recognize that it's okay to ask someone, "Are you okay? Is there something wrong? Are you having some kind of issue?" It has to be recognized as something where you can reach out and help people.
Do you see these problems as increasing, or is it merely a function that they're being recognized more?
They're being recognized more. That's certainly most of it. I can't rule out that there is an increase. And why is that? That's the big question.
So is NAMI a point of access for people to treatment sources?
Absolutely, and in that situation where if it's a friend or family member who's recognizing some behavioral issues in someone they know, and they don't know what to do, how to approach it, what resources may be available, maybe they want to approach the person with a couple of suggestions, they should call us. They should call us, because that's what we are. We are a resource and information. We are an information resource, educational resource, and an advocacy resource.
So if people want to get in contact with you, they can get on your website. First of all, they can, which is www.nami.org/sites/Cape Cod. There's a phone number. It's 508-778-4277. Please, if you have somebody in your family or a friend who needs assistance, or if you need assistance in coping with them, NAMI is the organization that you should call. Ron, you're running a course again, starting a family-to-family course starting at the end of January.
We are.
And if you're interested in signing up for that, please call. We haven't given the names of local people who have participated in this and the teacher trainers for confidentiality reasons. But once you call Ron, he's happy to share that information with you.
Perfectly.
And so these may be people you know who have already gone through this. But in this situation, we all need help, and I strongly recommend that you contact NAMI. Ron Holmes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.